Going off track is.
Going off track is taking a chance on yourself.
Following your pulse of curiosity.
It's making your own decisions.
The most wonderful adventure.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Right Off Track, the podcast where we journey through the lives of individuals who've dared to veer off the beaten path and found their way to success. I'm your host, Anya Smith, and today we have a guest whose story is as colorful as his LinkedIn profile can get. Meet Shoaib Ahmed, the founder of Yellow Hippo, a LinkedIn-first personal branding agency. In just 18 months, he's turned the digital landscape into his playground, generating multiple six figures in revenue and a whopping 120 million impressions. He's not just a LinkedIn whiz, he's a branding maestro. Now, if LinkedIn were a high school, Shoaib would be the guy you'd want to sit next to in class. Not just because he would help you pass, but because he'd make the class way more interesting. He's the Northwest Young Entrepreneur of the Year for 2023, and he's here to spill the tea, or should I say, the LinkedIn algorithm secrets. But he's not just all glitz and glamour. Shoaib's journey is a roller coaster of ups and downs, from being on furlough in 2020 to quitting his agency job in 2021 and then freelancing his way to recognition in 2023. He's a second-gen Pakistani immigrant who's breaking the barriers and becoming the face for others who inspire to make it big in an industry where representation is scarce. So buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the life of a man who's not just a rebel in the business world, but also a mentor, a keynote speaker, and the host of his own podcast, fittingly called Rebels. Shoaib, welcome to Right Off Track. So excited to have you here.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. What an introduction. I feel like that's the nicest introduction I've ever had, so thank you so much.
Just replay this to start your day. Dun, dun, dun.
I'm setting that as my ringtone.
I'm curious, so your focus in school was way different than marketing. How did you, what pulled you in those direction in the very beginning, and how did you find what you want to do? Because I personally struggle, what the heck do I want to do? Even through my professional life, I was like, I don't know if I quite want to do this, but I don't know what my purpose, where my passion really is. How did you discover that for yourself?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question, but because I'm still figuring that out, I'm still, people say to me now, where do you want your business to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I don't even know if my business will exist. And
Okay.
that's just, I guess something that people don't really admit or they don't want to publicly say. But I'm somebody who loves getting stuck into things that I enjoy. And if the minute I lose enjoyment, then it's a different ball game. So when I started, when I kind of got into this, geography is very different. But I thought marketing was just such a fun, creative role. It merged the kind of creative aspect with also the technical, the technical skills, whether that's editing, whether that's paid ads, whether that's Google Analytics and understanding data, but then also writing creative copy and design and thinking of innovative campaigns. So I thought this is the perfect thing to blend those two skill sets that I thought I had together. And every kind of business or company needs marketing. So I thought whichever industry I want to go in terms of the company I want to work for, at the time, obviously I was thinking as an employee, there is a marketing role there. So it's kind of a secure future in a sense.
Right. I love it. And so then you did this job, at the uni or interim kind of opportunity there, and then you had a startup opportunity. What made you decide, hey, I'm ready. I'm going to do this. And how was Yellow Hippo born?
Yes. So a number of things just happen. I mean, it all comes back to what we do as an agency at Yellow Hippo. So we do personal branding, and personal branding is how I started my company. And I 100% put the growth of my business due to my personal brand. So, we help others do what I did for myself. So it's something I've been through and lived. And now I help others do the same thing and achieve, to be fair, even better results than I did, and even faster.
Wow.
So I was working with the other agency, and things were growing within that agency. But again, it was just me and the founder at the time, and it was growing. I was building my personal brand. I was posting on LinkedIn regularly, and I think there was a shift about 2 years ago on the platform on LinkedIn. Very sudden shift it appeared to be, where LinkedIn went from this kind of dull corporate professional platform in many people's eyes to a platform of opportunity for creators and writers and designers and creatives to actually leverage the opportunities that LinkedIn had in terms of network building, in terms of connections, in terms of visibility, and launching businesses. I've met hundreds of people who in the last couple of years have started business directly through LinkedIn. And I was just one of those people. And quite luckily, I was one of the first movers in the personal branding space. So I was able to do it quite quickly. I thought I was ready. To be fair, there's a story behind this, so I'll quickly tell the story.
Oh, please go on. I love stories.
So I was kind of working in this role, and it was a great company, and they've gone on to do amazing things, and great founder as well. But I just felt our vision was different, right? And that's completely fine. It's completely normal as well to work with amazing people, but who you share a different vision with. So I was, working at this company. I really wanted to build something amazing. I've always been somebody who just loves building stuff for some reason, whatever it is, a community, a page, a social media following, a podcast, whatever it is, I love building something from scratch. So I was really ready to go. I was moving at 100 miles per hour in my head, but it wasn't my business. And so there's a kind of a clash there, because I was an employee. Anyway, I was growing, and I wanted to really accelerate my career as well. And at the time, quite simply, to put it bluntly, I asked for a promotion and I didn't get it. And I thought, okay, what do I do now? Because I thought, okay, I've put everything into this. I'm really giving it my all. But the business wasn't in a stage for me to kind of grow as fast as I wanted to.
Right.
And so after that call, I sat down and I spoke to a few people on LinkedIn. Again, the power of your network.
Right.
And people start saying, I'd pay you to do my personal brand. And then I spoke to somebody else and I was like, yeah, I work for this personal branding agency, but I don't know what to do next. And they were like, oh, well, I'd pay you. Not the agency, but I'd pay you. And I thought, oh, okay, I've never even considered this before. Anyway, skip 2 weeks and I'd handed in my notice and I was like, right, let's go. Let's do it. So it was quite a big jump. I never really planned to start a business, but I saw this opportunity and I thought, well, if I don't do it, then I'll never know. And I'm not at my 100% where I am. So I need to get out of my comfort zone, try something different. Otherwise, I'll never overcome that kind of fear of starting. And I think that's so important, that first step.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the story.
Wow. Amazing. I love that you started, and there's a true factor to it, that it wasn't like I'm just so ready. There were these conversations, like you said, were happening to make you feel like, oh yeah, like other people could potentially be doing this with me, where there is this audience. So I hope our audience is hearing and saying like, hey, maybe there's a process for me. Maybe I have something to offer where I could start reaching out to people who might find this valuable and seeing if, again, we can collaborate. It doesn't have to be all or nothing from the start, but it could be this exploration of finding what you uniquely bring to the table, and can you create more of that space and more of these opportunities and build more confidence around that. Curious, now that you've been doing this for a while, the company has matured, you've grown your team. Are you reflecting back on like maybe your start or even this like fuller journey? What were some key learnings that you can share with our audience, or things maybe you would do differently, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had very quick growth, which is a blessing and a curse. So by month 3, I think we had I had 20 clients. It was just me starting.
Whoa.
So I was managing 20 people's brands, almost putting a hat on each day. As at 11 a.m. I was a talent manager for one of the biggest influencer groups in the world. And then at 12 p.m. I was a supply chain leader working with Nestle and Nike and Adidas. And then at 1 p.m. I was a 21-year-old marketing founder. And that's because all my clients worked in very different industries and I was building their brand. So I had to tap into who they were, not just as people, but I had to understand their industries as well. So it was a lot. And I wish I asked for help sooner. I think I wish I leveraged my network. At the time, looking back, I had an amazing network, but I think I was so hungry to just build. And you know, when you're stuck in that grind mindset, you're like, "Oh, I'll do
Oh
this.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
can do this." Yeah, and I think I should have just slowed down a little bit and think, for actually, I'm working here like 18-hour days consistently. What if I assigned this admin task to this person? What if I hired somebody to manage my inbox, even just my emails, for example? What if I hired somebody to help schedule all the content? That in itself would free up 3-4 hours of my day, and I can then leverage that time from where I'm best suited. So I think one of the biggest lessons is don't try and do everything yourself and just accept help.
Yeah. And
And then
I just go. Sorry, go ahead.
no. I was going to move on to a different topic, so go ahead.
Oh, you go. We're just gonna
Okay.
like podcast with each other. Like, you go. No, you go.
So the other thing that I was going to mention is figuring out my purpose and what I was trying to achieve, like what I was trying to build and what I wanted to achieve. So I think I was, working constantly, really, really hard, and I don't regret working hard. And I know there's a whole narrative now around hustle and hustle culture, which is very, very negative. And I agree, long-term 24/7 hustle is not sustainable, it's not healthy. But at that time, I needed to do that because it fast-tracked my learning by about 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
I worked hard, I failed, but I failed fast, and I learned really quick. And then I implemented those learnings to grow at a much faster pace. So I would say that figuring out my purpose helped me change that toxic hustle into an intentional hustle. And that was all around figuring out what I wanted to achieve. So I wasn't just working 24/7, I was working with purpose, and I was working with the right type of clients. I was building the right culture and actually having a support network around me. I was creating a business that fit with my own personal objectives. And that was things around health, financial security, time freedom. I think a lot of people start a business for those reasons, right? Like to have to manage your own time and to be flexible and to work from anywhere. And actually, I realized that's why I started. But where I ended up was opposite to all those things. I was working 18-hour days, not leaving the house. I'd put on loads of weight because I wasn't going to the gym. And I just paused and thought, wow, like you were supposed to go from here to here and instead you just dipped. Whilst the financial side of stuff is amazing, that was never my biggest goal or motivator. So I flipped the switch on that and thought, okay, what do I want to achieve? Let's work backwards from there and let the business support that.
Oh, beautiful. And so you mentioned purpose a couple of times, and that's a sexy but sometimes overwhelming word. So right now, like what is motivating you perhaps now? We mentioned the flexibility and time, but could you share anything more around that?
Yeah. I think to be fair, my biggest thing right now is health. I've just recently been listening to a lot of really great podcasts around health and money. I would say the two kind of main things. And when I say money, I probably mean wealth more than that. And I don't mean wealth in monetary terms. I mean wealth in the whole spectrum. Like, what is a wealthy life to me? And for me, that's time freedom, financial security, independence, the ability to travel. You know, I want to live a wealthy life, and that doesn't mean like designer things or designer cars. I could not be interested. I could not be less interested in any of those things. But it's living a life on my own terms. So I'd say that for me is really important. And then health, I really want to get fit and. When I was younger, I used to play football. I used to do long distance running. I was really.
You're so old now.
Yeah.
In your early 20s. Oh gosh.
I feel like a business ages you though. Having a business definitely ages you. But yeah, so like maybe like 7-8 years ago, I used to play football twice a week. I used to do long distance running. I was doing like a 5K every day.
Wow.
I was working my way up to a marathon. And that never happened. But I would love to get back into that. I'd love to focus on my health because I think if you're healthy, that's your number one foundation. You can add as many blocks onto your health as you want, but if you don't have a strong foundation, as in health, everything else collapses. business, finance, relationships, everything. So for me, I'm currently doing the Hard 75 challenge. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Somebody was doing that. Who was that? Was that Jane doing that? No, I heard. Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me.
Yeah, so it might have been me. I have posted about
no,
it.
it wasn't Jane. It was Nicole. Nicole on my podcast. I think she was doing that. So mention that to me. Explain it to us.
Yeah, so it's just 75 days, and every day set things you have to do. For me, that's 45 minutes of indoor exercise, 45 minutes of outdoor exercise, 3.5 litres of water, I think it's equivalent to a gallon, reading 10 pages of a non-fictional book every day, something kind of mindset related, something inspirational or empowering, and then having a really selective diet. So for me, that's been like amazing, because what it's done, it's forced me to dedicate time to 1.5 hours of exercise every day. It's forced me to be really strict with my diet and like meal plan. And I think there's such a correlation between business and then like health, mindset, all those kinds of things. I think without those, you can't build a successful business. So for me, both of them together, I've just like optimized each other. They're really complementary, I've found.
Yeah. Can I add just like that contrarian side to this for anybody listening? So I think, yes, the having the structure is really helpful. What I also embrace in my life is not giving myself excuse not to do something if things are not perfect. So I love the idea of like having this order and everything is planned out in my day. And to some degree, I try to make that happen. 5:30, I have a certain window when my kids are not awake. And then after that, all bets are off. Like, yes, you have a plan, but things are not going to happen quite like that. But my point is that find a system that works for you. If it's that hard 75, awesome. But if you have a demanding schedule that just doesn't have always the things that you're always in control, like that's not an excuse to still not do something. Like build yourself some compassion, like we talked about, but still find ways to make progress. So if you can't do, an hour and a half of workout every day, what can you do? Right. So it could still be like, that's my maybe not issue, but sometimes I feel when people have this grand aspirations and starting from zero can feel so hard that people don't even bother starting. And so I encourage people to start where they're at now, making a little progress and have that long-term vision, like when they feel ready to jump into a big program to do so. So maybe that's just from my heart. I hope like anybody listening finds themselves in the process wherever they are and not making an excuse. Like if something doesn't seem manageable, realistic now, like from 0 to 100, what's the number 2? What's the 3 step to get to where you want to be?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think that's such an important caveat as well. I'm in the position that I'm in. I'm single. I'm 24. I had to think then for a second. I have good health, and I have no dependents. Right, so I'm in a position where I've got loads of time, got a lot of energy, and I'm in kind of control. Nobody depends on me. So I'm in a position to be able to do that. But I love what you said about finding that routine that works for you, because I'm not somebody who's religious about, the 5 a.m. morning routine. I've never woken up at 5 a.m. unless I'm catching a flight to go on holiday. So for me, my structure and my routine is, it's not perfect, and nobody's is. I work with, big entrepreneurs who might preach about this in their in their content, and then actually I'm starting a call with them, and they've just told me that they've spent 7 hours that morning working from their bed, and I'm like, well, that's not the ice bath, yoga, green shake routine that you show on Instagram. Right. So I think you've got to be very wary of. Everybody has off days, and even if somebody's created a perfect morning routine video on YouTube, like I do this, then I do this, and then I do this. Nobody does that all the time. Everybody has days where they just like say, fuck the schedule, I'm just going to do a bit of me today. I think that's really happy to have that. Like the other day, I just binge watched Netflix. I worked for about 2 hours.
What were you watching?
So I'm watching a couple of things. So I'm watching Sex Education, the new series.
Ooh.
And then I was watching a film that I can't remember the name of, actually. It's the new J-Lo film.
I don't know. I'm so bad. But if you're interested, check out those two. Was it good? Was it okay?
It's good,
good?
It's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. So your point, it's okay to binge watch. It's okay to just take a day off. It's okay to Question, yes, people have good examples on social media, but that's their on day. That's what they're showing you. They probably have off days too. So be
Mm,
authentic of yourself and your needs, is what I'm hearing.
100%. Yeah. There's another creator called Laura Acosta who taught me
Oh,
something.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Talk about Laura. I love it. She's also on
Yeah.
your podcast, Rebels.
Yeah.
Check her
She
out.
was on my podcast, yeah, and she said something on my podcast where she talked about off season and on season, and it's really stuck with me ever since. And she spoke about a time where some months of the year she's on season, so she's hustling, she's working, she's grinding those 12-hour days, she's building, she's got that burst of energy, and she's really going for it. And then there's also her off-season time where she's reflecting, and she might not post on social media every day. She might not be growing her business. She might just be stabilizing. And she uses the off-season time to really reflect, do the inner work, kind of identify her goals, evaluate what's working and what isn't working, and maybe take a little bit of a step back. And I think we're so pressured to work, to be on season all the time, to work like if you take an off day, you're falling behind. That's the narrative. Whereas actually, I love that kind of off season, on season. So when somebody asks me like, "What are you working on?" Sometimes I just say, "I'm in off season." So I'm just stabilizing.
Ooh.
I'm not working on anything new. I'm just doing what needs doing. Because 99% of like business building is not that exciting. Like it's just doing the same thing, right? There's not like big crazy developments every day. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's okay to embrace that off-season mentality, as long as it doesn't last forever. you know, that's the caveat there.
Right. Right. Recover, but don't get so comfortable where you're stagnant. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And to everybody listening, I just want to share again that our mission with Right Off Track is to inspire people to live more fulfilling lives and to embrace their unique journey. So if that resonates with you, I would so appreciate if you took just one moment to share it with somebody else who would find this interesting and inspiring on their unique journey. And Shoaib, thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom. I love your content. I love just interacting. I feel like this could go on for more and more hours because this was so much fun for me. But thank you. I really appreciate our time together. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for coming off track with us. This was a fun adventure, and I look forward to having you next time.